The universe is much more vast than we had ever thought before. So, the presentation of truth, this unfolding revelation that advanced spiritual beings give to us in order to help our lives, our daily lives, and also to help our collective planet to become a world of peace and prosperity, must also expand as our growing understanding expands. So, one of the expansions here in the Urantia book has to do with the Trinity and the makeup of the Trinity. They're teaching here that there is a universal Father, there is an eternal Son, and then there also is the infinite Spirit. Okay, great. We understood that from man's Catholicism and Christianity and that sort of thing. But they go on to say that there are a classification of beings called the Paradise Creator Sons. And that's what we're going to learn about today. This is written by a perfecter of wisdom. So the Paradise Creator Sons, on page 234, please like and subscribe if you are interested in expanding your knowledge of the spiritual universe, the most replete version of truth out there here, folks. These Paradise Creator Sons, we're going to learn about this because this will explain why, if the universe is so vast with something like 7 trillion inhabited worlds, if the eternal Son was just personalizing on those planets, it would take ages and ages and ages for that personalization to happen. Like, for instance, our Jesus of Nazareth was a personalization of a Paradise Creator Son, because each Creator Son has a local universe that is projected to have 10 million inhabited worlds. So when the scientists look out there with their telescopes and say, it is huge out there, we say, yeah, we know. Millions of inhabited worlds, bigger than even you guys know, because we've had it revealed to us. But yes, it does take a bit of a faith walk to take this, but you will see once you read how much sense this makes. The Creator Sons are the makers and rulers of the local universes of time and space. These universe creators and sovereigns are of dual origin, embodying the characteristics of God the Father and God the Son. But each Creator Son is different from every other. Each is unique in nature as well as in personality. Each is the, quote, only begotten Son. So now this is where we're getting into, we're agreeing with the Bible here. When they say that, you know, our Jesus is the only begotten Son of the Father, then we can agree. Of the perfect deity ideal of his origin. You see, there's some sort of paradox there, that there's an only begotten Son, that each one is an only begotten Son. Okay, it's a paradoxical understanding. In the vast work of organizing, evolving. So it's not like they're just these, you know, I don't know how to call it, pattern or like drones or clones, I guess. Clone is a good word. That they're the clone of the eternal Son. Each is a unique individual being that has a perfect deity ideal that's original. In the vast work of organizing, evolving, and perfecting a local universe, these high sons always enjoy the sustaining approval of the universal Father. The relationship of the Creator Sons with their Paradise Father is touching and superlative. No doubt, the profound affection of the deity parents for their divine progeny is the wellspring of that beautiful and well-nigh divine love which even mortal parents bear their children. So you can see that these patterns, as it is above, it is below. These primary Paradise Sons are personalized as Michaels. As they go forth from paradise to found their universes, they are known as Creator Michaels. When settled in supreme authority, they are called Master Michaels. Sometimes we refer to the sovereign of your universe of Nebadon as Christ Michael. That was our Jesus of Nazareth. And that is why I believe people call the being Archangel Michael the head of the archangels. Well, he certainly is the head of the archangels. Always and forever do they reign after the order of Michael. So that's the way to understand, that's how I understand the all of the different Michaels in each creating their own local universe. 700,000 local universes, each with 10 million inhabited worlds. And they're all part of the order of Michael. Okay? That being the designation of the first son of their order and nature. But I will put it in aside here. Because of the quote that Jesus, if you have seen the Son, then you have seen the Father. And that quote also parallels in Christianity. We're not taking away anything from Christianity. And this link between the Creator Michaels and the Universal Father. Okay, it still is all of that. It still is that they are one being. And yes, it still is the fact that no man may get to the Father except through way of me, which is a quote from the Bible, some more or less like that. That says that every person has to eventually, in their ascension, understand and appreciate their Creator's Son, their local universe Son, their Jesus of Nazareth, right? In order then to proceed to the Father. The only difference here, folks, is that this is teaching that even if you don't understand this during your lifetime, let's say you're a person who's a Jewish person and you've rejected Jesus of Nazareth as a son of God, you will not go to hell. If you still have spiritual capacity within you, you will be resurrected based on the mercy, and then you can proceed to decide if you would like to form a relationship with your local universe creator Son and then proceed through to paradise. So it's different there, whereas Christianity teaches you better get it on your deathbed or it's going to be that eternity of, Satan poking you in the ass with a pitchfork. So there's just so much more space and breathing room here, as we would expect from an all-loving, all-wise, all-merciful creator. But there is eventually mercy there. There is eventually justice in the universe, because if that person then chooses to say, no, there is no more spiritual capacity in my soul, they're resurrected based on the mercy, and they say, no, I don't ever want to do it. No, I know what I'm giving up, and a whole soul choice. No, I'm not doing it. I would prefer to do evil and selfishness and that sort of thing. The justice is that they cease to exist through their own choice, by their own choice. That's the justice. You're not going to be sitting up there on a cloud with a guy who, decided to run a parish and scam all of his parishioners out of all their money so that he could fly around on a private jet. We get it all the time with all of your famous preachers, your mega churches, billion-dollar industries, and they are just scamming people, pretending that they're this or that, and they're taking their money and stealing. And you think they're going to go to the same exact place as a real, meditative type of person who is seeking their spirituality above all else, giving rather than receiving, serving rather than self-aggrandizement, and they will ascend to a greater degree. Now, that preacher does not mean that he cannot also ascend to that degree. He needs to go to a remedial world, learn his lessons on one of the mansion worlds, and then he can catch up with you. But by that time, you might have already been more advanced than him. So we went over this before. You pick up on the other side where you leave off here. And so that way, if you have made a bond with Jesus, and it's true that no man may come to the Father except through way of the Son, then you are going to be at a more advanced world, okay? You might not need to learn those other... It depends. There might be... Just because you have... Let's say that preacher has decided that he is a follower of Jesus, but he just for his own human reason has it twisted in his mind about that he is able to accept billions of dollars while there's other people starving in the streets here on this planet. And he has that twisted. He's ignoring that idea that Jesus taught. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to go through heaven. If that preacher is choosing to ignore those, but he's accepted Jesus, well, wherever he's at in his spiritual ascension, as deemed by perfect judges, that's where he's going to pick up on the next phase of his existence. Maybe there's somebody who doesn't like Jesus, the concept of Jesus right now, but they are very, very good of a being, and they are serving and that sort of thing. They might end up at the same as him, beyond him, or whatever. Okay? So, anyways, we're just talking about a perfect, it's a perfect ascension plan, a perfect balance of justice and mercy, and it's not taking away anything from Christianity that says that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that sort of thing. Okay? It's not taking away that just because there's many of these Jesuses. In fact, we should celebrate. If you really like Jesus, the day that you learn there's 700,000 of them, then that should be a celebration day. But Jesus, remember, was the human incarnation of Michael. The original or firstborn Michael has never experienced incarnation as a material being, but 7 times he passed through the experience of spiritual creature ascent on the 7 circuits of Havona. Okay, that was the first Michael. He didn't go to a normal human inhabited worlds because there probably wasn't at any of them at that time. We're talking a past universe age here. Advancing from the outer spheres to the innermost circuit of the central creation. So he still had to learn what it was like to be a citizen of Havona. The order of Michael knows the grand universe from one end to the other. There is no essential experience of any of the children of time and space in which the Michaels have not personally participated. They are, in fact, partakers not only of the divine nature, but also of your nature, meaning all natures, from the highest to the lowest. So that is a real key here, people, to know. These beings, these paradise origin beings, brilliant beings, they know what it's like to toil here, to scrape around in the dirt. You know, you could think of Jesus in his carpentry shop, and you know, maybe he dropped a tool in a bunch of sawdust and dirt, and he had to go scrambling through it. And that's just a crude example. I mean, even think of like being up on the cross. Like talk about being in the thick of it. And we know that that's a fact, even from a historical perspective, that this man Jesus of Nazareth was crucified. The original Michael is the presiding head of the primary paradise sons when they assemble for conference at the center of all things. Not long since on Uversa, we recorded a universal broadcast of a conclave extraordinary on the eternal isle of 150,000 creator sons assembled in the parental presence and engaged in deliberations having to do with the progress of unification and stabilization of the universe of universes. This was a selected group of sovereign Michaels, sevenfold bestowals. So those are the ones who completed their sevenfold bestowals, as our Michael of Nebadon did. Let's look at this origin in nature. When the fullness of absolute spiritual ideation in the eternal Son encounters the fullness of absolute personality concept in the universal Father, when such a creative union is finally and fully attained, when such absolute identity of spirit and such infinite oneness of personality concept occur, then, right then and there, without the loss of anything of personality or prerogative by either of the infinite deities, there flashes into full-fledged being a new and original Creator Son, the only begotten Son of the perfect ideal and the powerful idea whose union produces this new Creator personality of power and perfection. So you can see it's a literal manifestation of this, the essence of the Son and the Father. So that's why Jesus could say, if you have seen me, then you've seen the Father. Each Creator Son is the only begotten and only begettable offspring of the perfect union of the original concepts of the two infinite and eternal and perfect minds of their ever-existent creators of the universe of universes. There never can be another such Son, because each Creator Son is the unqualified, finished, and final expression and embodiment of all, of every phase, of every feature, of every possibility, of every divine reality that could, throughout all eternity, ever be found in, expressed by, or evolved from those divine creative potentials which united to bring this Michael Son into existence. So you can think, folks, it's not like, okay, well, there's a concept of love, so we need to make a Creator Son that correlates with love. Okay, great. Well, there's a concept of justice, so we need to make a Creator Son of... No, these beings are the sources of love. They've created the concept of love. They've created the concept of justice. They create new concepts of perfection. It's not that the perfection already exists without God the Father being there. Nothing existed without God the Father being there. So we're talking about creating new concepts like love and the embodiment of beings in this order of Michael. Absolute. The divine natures of created sons are in principle derived equally from the attributes of both paradise parents. All partake in the fullness of the divine nature of the universal Father and of the creative prerogatives of the eternal Son. But as we observe the practical outworkings of the Michael functions in the universe, we discern apparent differences. Some creator sons appear to be more like God the Father. Others appear to be more like God the Son. And there's a whole chapter on the eternal Son and his nature and everything, so you can learn more about that. The trend of the administration of the universe of Nebadon suggests that it is a creator and ruling Son and one whose nature and character more resembles that of the eternal Mother Son. Isn't that interesting, folks? Our own Michael of Nebadon more features this mother-like love. It's a son kind of universe. It should be further stated that some universes are presided over by Paradise Michaels who appear equally to resemble God the Father and God the Son. And these observations are in no sense implied criticisms. They are simply a recording of fact. I do not know the exact number of creator sons in existence, but I have good reasons for believing that there are more than 700,000. Now we know that there are exactly 700,000 union of days, and no more are being created. We also observe that their ordained plans of the present universe age seem to indicate that one union of days is to be stationed in each local universe as the counseling ambassador of the Trinity. We note further that the constantly increasing number of creator sons already exceeds the stationary number of unions of days. But concerning the destiny of the Michaels beyond 700,000, we have never been informed. We're talking perfecters of wisdom have never even been informed. So let's look. There's another interesting. It's all interesting, people. It's all interesting. Make sure you read this. We're just looking at 1 or 2 pages out of a 2,000-page book, and it's all this profound. Okay, let's look at destiny of the Master Michaels here. Also, I want to take a little short notice. I appreciate everybody that's participating, all the people that send their well wishes. It's really nice to see. I had no idea what was going to happen when I started this Your Entry Book channel, but it's great to see that people are, getting involved here. Our community is growing, and who knows how far we can take it. We definitely have the best spine in the universe here with this, more so than anything else on the entire planet. No destiny of the Master Michaels. No one may with finality of authority presume to discuss either the natures or the destinies of the sevenfold master sovereigns of the local universe. Those are the ones who already did their sevenfold bestowals. Nevertheless, we all speculate much regarding these matters. We are taught and we believe that each Paradise Michael is the absolute of the dual deity concepts of his origin. Thus he embodies actual phases of the infinity of the universal Father and the eternal Son. The Michaels must be partial in relation to total infinity, but they are probably absolute in relation to that part of infinity concerned in their origin. But as we observe their work in the present universe age, we detect no action that is more than finite. Any conjectured superfinite capacities must be self-contained, as yet unrevealed. So remember, we were looking at the natures of infinity and these understandings of God, there being the absolute level, there's the ultimate, there's also the absolute trinities. There's all these different understandings and levels of God. So they're finding that Michael is obsolete or operating on this absolute of some of his aspects here, but then there's also these finite aspects that he is operating on. Well, it says we detect no action that is more than finite. See, any conjectured superfinite capacity must be self-contained and as yet unrevealed. So some of the little more complexities and nuances of this, which this book abounds with. The completion of the creature bestowal careers in the elevation to supreme universe sovereignty must signify the completed liberation of a Michael's finite action capacities, accompanied by the appearance of the capacity for more than finite service. So he exhausts everything that he can do in finite reality, as in he did his Jesus bestowal, he created his 10 million worlds of physical universe origin. These weren't eternal worlds. However, they do conjecture that once settled in light and life, a world will continue on for eternity. We're not there yet. We're not settled in light and life. They say that worlds do perish, systems do run down. I don't know if that means if these 10 assholes can press their nuclear buttons and destroy the whole world, if the spiritual beings would allow that. I don't know how far that goes when they say that they do allow people to have free will. Would they let these warmongers, do that? I don't know, but they do say that worlds do perish, not the ones settled in light and life, though. For in this connection, we note that such master sons are then restricted in the production of new types of creature beings, a restriction undoubtedly made necessary by the liberation of their super finite potentialities. It is highly probable that these undisclosed creator powers will remain self-contained throughout the present universe age. But sometime in the far distant future, in the now mobilizing universes of outer space, we believe that the liaison between a sevenfold master sun and a seven-stage creative spirit may attain the absonite levels of service, attended by the appearance of new things, meanings, and values on transcendental levels of the ultimate universe significance. Just as the deity of the Supreme is actualizing by virtue of experiential service, so are the Creator Sons achieving the personal realization of the paradise divinity potentials bound up in their unfathomable natures. When on Urantia, Christ Michael once says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And we believe that in eternity, the Michaels are literally destined to be the way, the truth, and the life, ever blazing the path for all universe personalities, as it leads from supreme divinity through ultimate absonity to eternal deity finality, presented by a perfecter of wisdom from Uversa. So, as you can see, folks, they're conjecturing just how grand this, destiny is of these Master Michaels. And it goes to show what they're learning, too, as they go. They're not going to make errors as far as sin, rebellion, and that sort of thing. They're just learning and figuring out the best way to do things. Jesus had a choice of 3.5 million planets that he could have bestowed himself onto. But he chose to do the one that was the most backwards. And that's where we are now, unfortunately. And we will need to change our ways because these, 10, we put 10, I say 10 assholes. I mean, they might not even think that, they might think that they're doing good. Vladimir Putin going in to kill all these different beings and his neighbors, his fellows. He may think he's doing good. So I'm not here to be the judge of what his spiritual capacity is. Maybe he's just a lost soul. Well, he's definitely a lost soul. Nobody would kill their neighbor, going to kill. But he has they all have all their different reasons for it. Kim Jong-un thinks that he needs to do this and that and oppresses people, or else they're going to rise up against him. And they're right. He's right. They will. They should. But that's why we need one world government here. We're really in a quagmire, people. This book, it's nice to read this book and everything, but remember, nothing is more important than your status sphere. And that's something that this book teaches. And that means you are capable of being enlightened within your status sphere. Enlightened, whatever you want to call it. Spiritual, walking in the Morancha state. Nothing is closed off to you just because your status sphere is primitive and rebellious. But as you do wake up and understand, if you haven't already, then you will observe the ways and patterns of this world and think to yourself, what are we doing wrong? How can we change it? What on earth is it going to take? How are these people, able to do these wars and these killings? And then when pointing out the flaws of the world, we need point no further than our own noses. How am I contributing to this? Am I buying the products that keep them to preoccupy, like myself, a vice or an escapism. That's the number one here on this planet, escapisms. That's your most profitable. Fear. Well, fear is the number one poison. But in doing so, are you helping to perpetuate? Am I? I'm saying this to me. What am I? And I do, and I have, and I've decided to unwind from this. It's a process. It takes time. You could go cold turkey, folks. You could really see the light and have this switch and change right away and say, no, I'm not participating in that anymore. And you can find your ways to go about and do it. Maybe it might not be perfect, as in, yeah, you might have to drive to work and use up gas, and you're going to add to the pollution. But maybe you'll find a solution that says, I'm going to use less gas in some way. I am going to buy an electric vehicle, or whatever you decide, carpool or something like that. So you're trying to help and unwind at your own pace. And if you can't, the understanding is provided to you because of the knowledge of the backwardsness of this planet, the evil nature of this planet. So these beings that may think that they're doing good, but they do have the power to destroy the whole planet with a push of the button. Many times over, which is the sick thing. Nuclear proliferation, it's called. They can destroy it many, many times over. So it's time for leaders of the spiritual community to not just be in our books and our words and that sort of thing, but to take an action as to say, how are we going? What, even just having the idea in your head, if you have the idea in your head, if you have that concept, you might not need to start a new political party or something like that. But if a politician comes around who is trying to unwind from the greed and the corruption and the warmongering, then maybe you'll vote for them, or just some small action like that. But at least if you have the concept in your mind that the world needs to change, not only, remember, we're always dealing on an individual and a collective here on this planet. So if you understand the world needs to change, and also how am I changing as an individual, because as we master ourselves, we master the world around us, then the way that that's going to happen is going to work itself out in accordance with your own ascension plan, your own relationship to God, your own adjuster, your own personal path. I can't prescribe a personal path to somebody, but at least you'll have the concept of your mind and pointing out and saying that is 100% anti-God and anti-Christ, that we have all these nuclear weapons that we could wipe the planet out. All the bombs in general. There should be no bombs on the planet at all because they kill indiscriminately. But if we had small arms, we could still have armies, all right? We could still say, yeah, we have an army, we can protect our borders. And then if there's a rogue actor somewhere in the world, then we all send our army in, like, let's say Putin wants to get funny, or what's his name, a Netanyahu, you know. Yeah, he was, well, we're not going to get into the politics of it, okay? Eventually, at a certain point, we have to form a world government like the United Nations. The United Nations has condemned Netanyahu, and they've condemned Putin for all these war crimes and things like that. But they need authority. They need to have a military force that the whole world agrees to contribute to. And then when one rogue nation goes haywire, the whole world is up against them. Then no nation would ever do it. You got Mexican gang cartels that are taking over their areas. Send in an entire world's worth of army, right? Small arms, you know. Everybody automatically should agree to get rid of all of their bombs. But when you have a whole entire army at your door, willing to take you out and ready to do whatever it takes to take you out, to try you and execute you, you're not going to be an upstart like that. You're not even going to try it. It's instant death if you do. Okay, anyways, folks, I'm just saying we need to change the world here. So that was kind of a long aside, but yeah, check out Paradise Creator Sons, and you know, we really can turn around these understandings. You know, how would a sovereign Michael's son rule over this planet? You know, he came here to give the spiritual message, which is the most important one. But then from there, we filter our political systems out from those ideals. So thanks again. Please like and subscribe, and then we'll